Hi, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hobo Prepper. I'm Friar Tuck. Today, I want to talk about the mental health aspect of SHTF. Now, I've heard a lot of other uh, content creators talk about this within the prepping community. I've been watching a lot more prepping videos than normal. I'm getting more, I'm learning some things, and I'm learning things that I really wish that I would have known a while ago. It would have made my life a little bit easier. And I'll pass those things on because some of the stuff that they offer is just impractical, and it's in theory, it looks good on paper, but it's not really practical. I mean, I look at these bug out bags, I'm just going, are you crazy? It makes no sense to me. But that's them, and that's just me. And because I've had my experiences when I've lost everything, and instead, because society was still put together, I was still in it. It was my personal SHTF, but was it a global SHTF or was it a regional one? No, but it was my personal one. And in a personal sense, when that happens and you go outside for the first time, it is going to cause a huge mental problem for you. I don't really know how to explain it other than, just imagine. Just go. Honestly, the only way you could really experience it is go sleep out on a street corner for a night, and convince yourself that you just lost your place. Convince yourself that you just lost everything you had, and all you have is the clothes on your back. And the psychological break that's going to happen, it's not something that could be talked about, but it's something that amongst the homeless, everybody's gone through it. Nobody talks about it. They know how to spot it, but nobody talks about it. And this is why you hear so many people say that there are mental health issues among the homeless. It's not that there's necessarily mental health issues. It's the when circumstances happen, the psychological break that happens, everybody deals with it a certain way. Some go off into drugs. Some go off into other things. Some just get really pissed off and say, screw this, I'm not going to let this happen to me. And then they get off the streets. I was one of those people. I was like, screw this, I'm here, but I'm going to make this temporary. I'm not going to, because you would have, when you're first outside, you're going to have a lot of hobos. They're going to be like, this is your opportunity, get your stuff together. Because the thing is that they're telling you this from experience, that you need to get your stuff together or you're going to be out here forever just like them. And they're not going to say it to you directly. They're just going to offer you little tidbits of advice. Now, this is the way it used to be. The way it is now, I don't think that there's that much camaraderie because of how prevalent the drugs have gone, because so many weak-minded people have gone out that they've really gotten into the hard stuff, the stuff that you can't walk away from. And I mean, you're going to do something just to be able to cope, because of the psychological conditioning that's been given to us our whole life. Understanding this is important, and you need to really put your own personal ducks in order, because it's going to manifest itself in many different ways. There are people that will go suicidal. There are people that go homicidal. Any which way you could possibly go, you could go. And homeless are a perfect example of it. And the thing is I think that the homeless population is so underreported. 4,000 homeless in some of the cities I've been in? No way. It seems like they're underreporting, but you know what? Over time, the psychological aspect of not only just losing your stuff, but now you've got three main adversaries. Your first adversary is going to be other hobos, and it's usually the ones that are really into the drugs. Those are going to be the ones that you should be really worried about, but not nearly as much as you should worry about cops. Okay, whether you realize it or not, cops are an adversary to the homeless. That's why you get the issues between cops and homeless, because I have the right to get a night's sleep, and if I sleep in an alcove and I sleep in a sleeping bag and I'm not bothering anybody and I'm not committing a crime because I'm sleeping, Just because some Karen gets some wild hair up her ass, calls the cops, it does not give them the right to come and harass you. And then they will sit there and try and look for a reason to take you to jail, thinking that they're doing you a service, actually doing you more of a disservice. Because once you get racked up in there, it's not just 3 hots and a cot that you're getting. There's more psychological damage that goes on once you go into jail, especially the first time when you get picked up. It does not sit well psychologically. So you're going to be going through this constant bombardment of just psychological trauma, because the whole world wants to chew you up, because you no longer offer the system money through your production. So they have to figure out other ways to harvest the commercial goods that you have. And what they do is they monetize the criminal system, so that way they can fleece you or harvest you. And the homeless are the first to get harvested, because they're the easiest targets. They're the easiest way we can make you know, being homeless is a crime. In the city of Portland, you're not allowed to sleep up against the building. You have to sleep on the edge of a curb. And usually the better places to sleep are around bars, because people don't harass you. And plus there's plenty of traffic, so that, you know, you have your safety. And you know, but these drunk people driving these cars, they're going to run up on that sidewalk and you're a dead hobo. But they don't care, because you're homeless. Okay, this is the adversarial thing. So you're dealing with other hobo, with the junkies. You're dealing with the cops, and then not on top of that, you got to deal with these crazy extremist groups, and they usually hide behind religion to do it, and that's what makes religion so scary. And honestly, I look at religion, and part of the reason why I was able to kind of assimilate into the Meyer material is because it's religious organizations that do some of the craziest things, and the crazier they are, the more likely they are to go pick up a homeless person, indoctrinate them, and then if anything goes wrong, the media can just sit there and go, yeah, that was just a crazy Christian who hired a bunch of homeless people. They must have been there for money, because they didn't want to be there for anything else. And it's not true. Psychologically, they go to war with you as well, because they need to get you to submit. So think of it like being with an abusive spouse, or being in a situation where somebody has to assert dominance over you. And the easiest way to assert dominance over you without you actually having to put up a fight is psychologically. And so that's usually the first place that they go. Okay, and so these are the things that you will have to worry about psychologically. So worrying about and if I went out into the woods, I would have to deal with a whole new set of adversaries, and those adversaries are no better than the adversaries that I would be facing in a city. What I'm banking on in a city situation, if I stayed in a city and I didn't go out into the outskirts and just go into the woods, would be that there would be such a mass exodus that I could take over plenty of property and do my own homestead garden. I could probably turn it into a commune and start rebuilding society if it really goes that bad. And honestly, I think it will get that bad by the end of all this. By the time we come to 2030, we will have had 2 American civil wars, a global financial collapse that has never, that we could have never fathomed, that they warned us about in 2008. And then we're going to have World War III with EMPs and nuclear and biological and chemical weapons. We've got all of that staring at us down a barrel with this everything bubble that's popping. And the thing is when people are hurting to be able to take care of their basic comforts, such as food, water, and shelter, that's when they start getting violent and they start getting hostile, and they're going to be like, I'm going to take your resources for my own survival. And so, you know, and regardless, this is the way it's going to get, and it's going to get really scary really quick. And so for the next 10 years, if you're over the age of 50, I mean, you're probably going to be you'll probably survive. All the kids will die. But I don't know. I really think that, that people that are like my dad at age 60, he's not going to live the next 10 years. He'll be dead in the next 5. With the way things are going. Now, if it de-escalates, it de-escalates. But what's going to end up happening is we're going to get the boiling frog effect. Okay, so what the boiling frog effect is in this situation is they're going to escalate tensions. And that's going to stress us out. And then they're going to escalate tensions again. And then that's going to stress us out. And then they're going to escalate tensions a little bit more, and then that's going to stress us out. But then what they want to do is just let it sit for a minute, so we'll get like a couple of years of a reprieve, because between the economy started picking up around 2013, 2014, and it was roaring by 2017, and by 2018 it was already starting to show a slowdown because of the labor market. And so we have slowly just watched everything escalate. And I think psychologically, if you're not prepared, if you do not get yourself mentally prepared to deal with the potential adversaries that are out there, psychologically, mentally prepare yourself. It is important to you and your mental health and how you survive as a human, not as a prepper, but as a human. Because I don't expect this channel to grow until there starts becoming a lot of homelessness, because the certain keywords that I'm focusing on is homelessness and SHTF. So you probably found this video in the beginning because you're a prepper and you're looking for SHTF, and here in the next couple of years it's going to be people looking up homelessness, because we have 20 to 30% of our population homeless because they can't afford to live. I mean, it's been like this for 15 years, and it's just slowly gotten worse to the point where even the most productive people couldn't survive, and it's going to get that way pretty soon. So anyways, I don't want to ramble too long, but I really wanted to get you guys to understand that you need to prep for the psychological aspect. You could have all the gear in the world, but if you take that knife and you do what you're not supposed to do, well then, all that gear made nothing. If all of a sudden you sink down into a deep set of depression, and because you weren't aware and you weren't prepared, you couldn't sit there and go, okay, I'm depressed, da 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 da. Okay, how do I get myself out of this? Okay, that's really how you prepare. Is you have to be consciously aware, consciously prepared of like, okay, and you have to do a mental checklist. So this is something, okay, and this is the final thing that I'm going to leave you with. So I've given you all the things that you need to prepare for. Now let me give you some things that will actually work for you in keeping your mental stability. Some things that will keep you to the point where your mental stability will stay in order is every morning when you wake up, you do a self-check. Think of it like doing a mechanic's tune-up. Or when you turn on the car, the computer chip has to power up all the different contraptions within the engine to be able to make the engine run the way that it's supposed to run. And so you have all these little things that have to turn on before you can even turn the ignition and start the combustion engine. Okay. And you got to be aware of, is this light on? Is this light on? Is this light on? Is this light on? Because your check engine light comes on, and you should, when SHTF happens, whether it be personal or global, when SHTF happens, you should consider your check engine light on. And so what that tells you to do is you need to go through and figure out what problems do you have. So for me, I wake up in the morning. How do I feel? My ex-girlfriends hate it when I wake up in the morning, or when I talk to myself, like, how do you feel? Because I'm gauging their mental stability and their mental well-being, because this is something that you have to be consciously aware of. How do I feel? Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I depressed? Am I neutral? Okay. The ideal way to wake up is to wake up neutral. Okay, neither happy nor sad. I mean, waking up happy or waking up excited is good every once in a while. Waking up mad and depressed is good every once in a while. But overall, you should wake up neutrally. I don't feel happiness, nor sadness, nor hate, nor anger, nor fear. Okay? Then the next thing, if you do feel any of those things, okay, as you go throughout the day, you start feeling emotions, okay? Because you got to realize right now your brain is operating at a different level. Your brain chemistry is off in a SHTF situation. The amount of stress that you're under automatically alters your brain chemistry and will not go away until until that stress is taken away and your brain can go back to normal. And until that actually happens, it actually causes brain damage. So just so that you know, when SHTF happens, and it goes into full swing, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be suffering from brain damage. And it's because of the amount of stress and the chemical imbalance that happens to your brain. And even me, part of the brain damage that I've gotten is from that. But this is how I fix that, so that it doesn't matter where I am, I can always keep myself balanced. Because once you figure out, like, okay, I'm mad. Why am I mad? What is it that made me mad? What did I do to play a part in that situation? So you want to focus it inwards. You're going to be doing a lot of self-reflecting and self-examination. It's important that you examine yourself, because you need to figure out if your conduct was wrong, because you're out in the streets, you're in a new environment, you come across a new person and they get mad. Well, what did you do? Was it that you encroached on their territory? Was it that you spooked them? Was it that you whatever? Okay, whatever it is that that happened to get them mad, you need to reflect on that, because it might have been something you did. It might have been just circumstance. It might have been just they woke up in a bad mood because they just got robbed the night before. Okay. You also have to have an understanding of the other person, okay? Because and Sun Tzu even says that in order to beat your enemy, it's something like you got to be friends with your enemy, or you've got to love your enemy. And that is how you beat your enemy. And in a lot of ways, this is what I'm doing, is I'm learning to understand and love my enemy. Because if I don't, then it's going to have negative effects on me. I'm going to walk around angry. It's going to affect my money. It's going to affect my food. It's going to affect my interactions with people, because you are in a situation where you're not just wearing it on your sleeve, it's magnified on your sleeve. And this is why you see homeless act as crazy as they do. It's because maybe this helps you get a little bit of an understanding of what it's like psychologically. And you want to get to the root cause, and you want to do self-reflection, because if you don't do self-reflection, you're going to fail. It's not going to work for you. You're going to come away so mentally damaged that you'll never be functional or productive in a meaningful way. If you don't put this in order. And this is the great thing about the Meyer material, and this is really why I gravitate to the Meyer material. It has nothing to do with UFOs, and it has strictly to do with what I just talked about, because that is strictly what the Meyer material teaches you. And I will tell you, living without it, and that way of thinking and that way of life versus living with it, night and day. Happiness, it has completely changed my life. And this is really why I follow the Meyer material, and this is why Billy Meyer is important to me. The predictions, it's just gravy on top. What he teaches in the Goblet of Truth, what he teaches in what you can read in the Talmud and Manuel. Those are very, very, very good stepping points, starting points for you. And I would recommend, like, if you had one book that you had to get, that you needed to carry with you, and this is something that I got to figure out too, because I got to figure out how to carry this book with me. It's big and it's heavy, but it's important and it's necessary. Because I that book is that is my Rosetta Stone. That is going to help me keep this in order. And because it teaches you the way to think, the way to live, the way to conduct yourself that is in harmony, so that you run into the least amount of resistance and you're able to accomplish the most, with the best results. And this is what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode.